Hey everybody, Rhadamant here. Thanks for tuning in to Stationeers. So, you guys have been submitting some ideas for me to work on, and I just wanted to go over some of the suggestions I've heard. So, Ositon mentioned that a suit storage and a fire extinguisher would be two very wise investments in this base, and that's something I'm going to be working on this episode. Rafe mentioned that I probably should keep my maintenance shaft vacuum sealed, so I need to work on that as well. Radiant Ruby mentioned that the giant wall of pipes I have over here serves no purpose whatsoever, and I should get rid of them. That's a fair point. And then Andy84 and others mentioned about oxygen, CO2, and propellant refill. And then a lot of you mentioned about an APC battery. Oh boy, I'm stuck. Okay, an APC battery for the little vent that I have for emergencies. And those are all things I'm going to work on this episode, hopefully getting them done, or at least making decent progress on them. So, first things first, I want to eat a potato. No, first things first, I want to start to set up the airlocks, the maintenance shafts, to be vacuum sealed, which means we can no longer enter them from these points, because I don't want to introduce Martian gas into the maintenance tunnels, because it will take a lot of effort to then pump that Martian gas out. So the idea here is to deconstruct these doors and replace them with just walls. And I'm going to obviously have to move the door as a result. So here's the two doors. They're done. They're gone. And then also, I'm going to put the entrance right over here, so they don't even have to move very far. So here's one wall, and let me go grab my wall kits. Alright. So these are going to become walls once I build them. Alright, there we go. Wall kit's done. Slap some plastic sheets in them. Done. Alright. So now, the emergency airlock is going to be the way that we additionally enter the maintenance shafts. That way we can vacuum seal the airlock, and then when we enter the maintenance shaft, no additional air is introduced at all. Which is a good thing, because then, if in the case I have to breach between the base and the airlocks, or rather the maintenance shaft, all it's going to do is, it's not going to fully depressurize the base. It's just going to combine the base air with the vacuum of the maintenance, making it so that instead of introducing Martian air, it just lowers the pressure of the entire base by probably about half. The maintenance area is about maybe a little bit more than the volume of the pressurized base. Maybe about the same, because actually the farm has a lot of volume. So basically the base will go from something, I'm just spitballing here, but basically like 100 kPa to 50 kPa, which is actually enough for us to breathe and survive and all that. So that's not a problem at all. And then we'll have the ability to pump out any gases that we lose from a maintenance tunnel breach back out to the filters, and then back out eventually to the base. So what I'm doing here is just moving some wires around so that we can run a door here. So the idea that I have for this is, well, first we are just going to get rid of these cables altogether. I'm going to change the way this is cabled up and designed. Alright. So, I'm going to put a door here that allows us entrance to the maintenance shafts. So there's the composite door. We'll drop one of the glass off. I'm going to put the door away, and let's get plastic. We're going to need the plastic sheets to finish this door. Alright, so now as you might be able to see, when in an emergency we can either enter the maintenance area, which is... it's not sealed entirely yet, but it will be. And this will be all totally 100% vacuum. It's actually sealed, except, you know, we just need to add walls here, but it doesn't have any other holes. Or we can just exit the base entirely. And that way, you know, if we have some sort of emergency, we could get to where we need to go without sort of screwing up future attempts to pressurize the base. Alright, Ossiton mentioned suit storage, and which is something I want. And then also a fire extinguisher that I really ought to just carry around with me at all time. So this here, you're going to be moved temporarily. And in the process of doing suit storage, I'm also going to set up some other stuff too. So suit storage is pretty straightforward how to build it. Actually get a little complicated. I take that back. It will get slightly complicated, but it won't be too hard for you to understand. If you've been following along, suit storage is really not that different than everything else. So let me go queue up suit storage. So this should be kit S for suit. There it is. And then I'm also going to queue up a fire extinguisher while I'm here. That's right at the top. So I've decided to put my suit storage right here. Oops, a little bit higher. Right there. The reason being is most of the time when we're in the base, we're not going to have a suit on, and if we need to exit quickly, it's right next to the exit. As for the fire extinguisher, I will nestle it right into my inventory. And that's something you should carry around just like duct tape. Alright. The next things I need for the suit refill and all that jazz is going to come out of the pipe bending unit. So the first thing I want is 3 canister storages. So I'll get those cranked out. They sort of fly out if you have something butting up against it. Oh, there you go, as you can see. So you got to be careful that if it smacks you hard enough, it might actually damage a suit, especially if you're not in a hard suit. Alright. That's good. I'm going to set these up, and then... oh, actually, you know, while I set those up, I'm going to start making pipes. And they're going to get messy, but whatever. Alright, so next to this suit storage, I'm also going to want a waste tank storage. So if I have a tank that has waste gas, I have somewhere to just put the waste gas. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here with oxygen. And same thing with nitrogen. That way, if I want oxygen or nitrogen, I can grab it, and if I want to get rid of waste, I can get rid of it. Let's label these. Waste tank empty.
Light off.
I guess it would be nitrogen tank fill.
Light.
And oxygen tank fill. Alright, that's a good step. Now over to collect the pipes. I'll probably need more than this, because I'm about to add a significant amount of plumbing to the base, but I want to make them in batches of roughly around 20, just so that I don't have a mountain of pipes everywhere. Alright, and then, because I'm working on nitrogen, oh, looks like I'm just about out of green paint, so I'm going to need to make some more. Because I'm just about working on nitrogen, oxygen, and waste, I'll grab the associated paint cans. Alright, I'm also pretty much out of green paint, so let me just make some more. Alright, so there's my green paint. I want my iron back. Oops, didn't mean to have that open. Alright, there's also some other things I need. I need 4 pressure regulators and 1 volume pump. And I'll explain what they're for soon. Oh, again, with the manifold open. So there's 2 of my 4 pressure regulators. 3 and 4. And the volume pump. Wonderful.
Jetpack on.
I'm just going to leave the volume pump there because I don't have room for it. Alright, let's color code these tank fills so that they are the appropriate color. Freeing up some space because that green paint just ran out. Alright, so off of the back, the easiest one to do is the waste tank. So let's do that one first. The waste tank exit for the suit is here. And then we're also going to want one here. And I'm going to have pipes come off of this like this. Actually, I might be able to have a corner section there. Let me fix that. Alright, so both of these are connected to the waste and waste at the top and bottoms. And then we'll just take our volume pump. Make sure the arrows face downstream, because right now they're facing the wrong way. Oops. There we go. So that we can actually plug it in. And then this connects to the pink intake network. That way we don't waste gas, instead of like venting it out back to Mars or something. Alright, so now the way this works is any waste that's in the suit that's stored here or in the canister that's stored here is then volume pumped, and we'll volume pump this at maximum volume. It's volume pumped into the intake. Perfect. That's exactly how we want it. Let's paint that pink. Let's wire this up to the atmospherics, which just so happens that there's a the cable network right here, and we're gonna leave that on. It does add a bit of a power requirement to the base, but you know, it's nice to have these things set up. Alright, so that's set up. The waste tank is set up. Next up, we want the nitrogen or oxygen. So let's work on oxygen first. So painting the pipes white. So at the bottom of this oxygen tank fill, I'm just going to have a pipe that comes down like this. And then here, I'm going to have, I need a wrench. I'm going to have the oxygen storage come down like that. Alright, so here's what we need to do. Off of the right side of here, I'm going to set it up like this. And I'll explain why. I'm going to have a pressure regulator. This pressure regulator will bring a preset amount of oxygen. Actually, let me set it up a little bit differently. I'm going to have a pressure regulator here. This is going to bring a regulated amount of oxygen downstream that we control. And then I'm going to also have a back pressure regulator, just so that it can't get pressured for any reason. Alright, does that make sense? I hope. Then this tank fill station is going to be connected after the pressure regulator. So the pressure regulator will put, let's say, 9,000 kPa of oxygen into this pipe network, which then connects to the tank fill. And the back pressure regulator will make sure it doesn't exceed over a preset amount so that any canisters that are connected to this network don't rupture. And then the excess oxygen that would have otherwise overpressured it just gets put right back into storage. So, yes, it's pretty straightforward. The next thing I want to do before continuing on with this run of oxygen pipes is to wire it up and also to label everything. So we need to connect to the, I'm going to need my wire cutters. We need to connect, oh, you know what, I should probably also stack my purple cables in. We need to connect to atmospherics yet again. Again, adding some additional atmospherics requirements. That was a very bad place for that cable. Let's put it right here. But, a necessary function for atmospherics to be able to, fill our tanks. Alright, so now they're plugged in, but I need to label them. So we're going to call this oxygen fill back pressure regulator and oxygen fill pressure regulator. Alright, and then for the settings, we'll do 9005 and 9000. Now the canisters that you have, the normal canisters go up to about 10 MPa or 10,000 kPa, and then the smart canisters can go higher, but I'm going to design these for normal canisters. Oops. I just accidentally toggled that. Alright. I'm not going to turn them on just yet. I'm going to run my oxygen. So, the oxygen needs to come to the suit storage breathing. It's called suit storage breathing because in Stationeers there's actually other species that don't breathe oxygen. There's even a species of robots, sentient robots, that don't even breathe. But for us, because, this is a human playthrough, we're just going to use... We obviously have to send oxygen. Other creatures breathe, other things. Alright, so the oxygen... Oop, I didn't line that up right. Let me grab my wrench. There we go. And now, any suit that is stored in the suit storage here will have a healthy supply of oxygen when the suit storage is turned on. So let's just turn these pressure regulators on. And eventually, given enough time, the pipe downstream from the pressure regulator will hit 9,000 kPa, which means that it can't overpressurize any canisters. The suit storage doesn't self-regulate, which means that if you connected, let's say, the nitrogen network to the suit storage right now as propellant, which I'm about to do, as soon as we put a suit in there, the suit would explode, because the suit would then fill up with beyond the 10,000 kPa amount of propellant. The propellant tank would rupture, and a giant hole in this base would, it would be bad. Which is exactly why, although a little over-engineered, I do have a back pressure regulator to make sure that this pipe here never exceeds 9,005. It can go up to about 10,000. And then you get into a rupture situation where, kablamo, you lose a sizable chunk of your base. Really, really not good, which is why I'm engineering it oh so carefully. So it looks to me like I am just about out of pipes, but we still have this silly pipe wall that I was told to break down, so let's do that. And because we're using nitrogen, we'll break down the green pipe first. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Alright, so now we have the pipes for nitrogen. And just like we did the oxygen, we're setting up the nitrogen the same way. So let's have a straight pipe all the way down so that we can see where the fill needs to be. And then we can even lay it out roughly in the same way. So I need my wrench. Where we have a corner like this. And then like that. Then we'll have our pressure regulator, making sure it faces the right way. And then the back pressure regulator, making sure it faces the right way. As you can see, it's a little mirrored from the last plate, the last one, but I'll fix it. Just because it will be a little bit easier to read. Pressure regulator and back pressure regulator. Is that how we had it? No, it was back to back. Am I sure my back pressure regulator? Oh, yeah, I see. So this was going to be the back pressure regulator. Okay, I get it now. Back pressure regulator, and then the pressure regulator. Alright, so that now mimics the other one, at least. That's what I was trying to do. Alright, and then the tank fill. And now it's totally mimicking the other side. And then we'll just have this go right through this wall. Before, I will need some additional pipes, it looks like, because I have 7. That's not going to be enough to do the run, but let's label everything and set it all up. So this is a pressure regulator, back pressure regulator. This is the nitrogen fill back pressure regulator, and nitrogen fill pressure regulator. This will go up to 9,000. And then this caps at 9,005. I'm going to wire it up, but not turn it on until the whole run of the pipes are done. And fortunately, again, I just have power right over the pipes, which makes sense. I mean, the atmospherics is right above. So, a little corner. Done. Now they're able to be turned on, but like I said, I want to do the run of the pipes first. But another thing I wanted to do is to... Oops, again, I hit the wheel. Is to color code them. Alright, so I will need some additional pipes. Let me go crank out like 10 more. Should be alright. In fact, I might... Do I have any in storage over here? No, I don't. Okay. Just wanted to make sure I didn't.
Jetpack on.
Alright, maybe this is enough. We'll see. So this has to connect to the propellant here. We use, of course, nitrogen as propellant. It's nice and inert, doesn't harm us, we can breathe it. As long as it's not only what we're breathing, it makes for good atmosphere, and that's why we use it. And you start off with some nitrogen in your propellant tank, obviously. Alright, so now this propellant tank runs all the way over and connects. Alright. At this point, it would be safe to turn on the pressure and back pressure regulators. And if we go ahead and grab our atmospheric analyzer tablet, the oxygen here is still climbing to the 9 MPa it's set, and then nitrogen is going to start climbing up as well. It takes a while. It's not instant, but the slower it goes, the safer it goes, right? Alright, so now we have everything but power hooked up to here. So let me go do the power, I suppose. That would be a good thing to do.
Jetpack on.
How I want to handle the power is actually heavy cables. So what I'm going to do here is set it up so that it's basically on the trunk. So what I want is a power controller. Iron, copper, solder. Alright. Iron, copper, and solder. Alright, so we have the power control, and then battery. Everyone wanted a backup battery for the vent, that is for the emergency exit, so I'm doing just that. I'm going to have a power controller and battery set up for it. That way, if all else fails, the battery will have enough juice to operate that active vent for plenty of time. Alright, there we go. And now we have that set up.
Jetpack.
Let's go bring it over. So the power controller is really just going to supply power to this active vent that's right above it. So it's gonna, I'll just put it here. Wrench it open. Toss the battery in. I can even leave it open. What I was going to do is actually connect... My crowbar should be in my backpack. Connect the suit power straight to the trunk that comes off of the solar panel tower. The power tower. And then also the input in here straight from the trunk as well. So this is like... You know... This has... The suits won't charge if the... So the suit only charges if the power tower has power capacity. But as you can see, this battery is already charging. And then, just for the hell of it, I'm going to run heavy cable there. Not that I need to, but it's what I have on hand. And it matches the rest of the network here. Alright, so now that that vent is the most securely plugged in vent I've got. It's, I guess, one way to see it. So here, as you can see, inwards, outwards, doesn't really matter. Let's flip power on. And as you can see, yeah, it works. And there should be a gust of air coming out of that vent, and there is. Okay, so that's nice and secured, and now the suit storage is secured. The suit storage, we could use the data port, but I'm not all that concerned about. I don't really care what kind of data is coming off of that. Let's put the geometric floor back. And now suit storage is all set up. We do happen to have a suit. So let's go grab it. So we don't have a spare backpack, but we have a spare helmet and hard suit. And when we turn on this suit storage, well, so before we turn on the suit storage, we should just take a look. 9 MPa of oxygen, exactly what we want. Nitrogen is still climbing. Okay. And to take a look at the suit, this suit has high battery charge. It's a nuclear battery. It has a waste tank with about 1,500 and an air tank with 3,300. We plop the suit in, we turn on the storage. Now you could hypothetically leave this storage on all the time, but to know it's working without taking the suit out, as you can see, the oxygen here just recuperated from going down, from being lower. Alright, let's go ahead and turn off the suit storage, take a look at the suit. We have an air tank, so I'm going to turn off the flow here so that the suit doesn't use up any of its oxygen just sitting here. So let me turn that back on. Alright, so now we have essentially 9K air, 0 waste tank, and the battery has charged up a little bit. Now if I leave that in there long enough, the battery will charge up fully. I should probably have suit storage back at some point. Well, actually, your back... Yeah, you don't need a back part of your suit to be airtight. It's just, you know, your backpack slash jetpack, so I'm not even going to worry about it. This way, if I ever rupture my suit, like let's say I crack it, it breaks, I can run and throw this suit on and I'm okay. And you could hypothetically add some more suit storages, especially if you were in multiplayer, you might want to. But I'm not playing multiplayer, so I'm not going to worry about it. So that suit storage is done. Now another thing that we could do, another thing that we have done in fact, is set up tank fill stations. So I'm not going to do a tank fill for welder gas, because welder gas potentially is a little dangerous. And I don't want something dangerous like that in the base. And again, let's double check. As you can see here, the suit oxygen tank is holding at 9 MPa. The nitrogen tank is holding, the propellant tank I should say, is holding at 8, but it's refilling slowly. So if I take a look at this, as you can see, the air tank, waste tank is at 9, like I said. If I took off my own backpack, so my backpack here has a propellant tank of 3.2K. If I put that in there and take it out, 8.3K. I all of a sudden got more propellant because this also fills propellant. Alright, so I was just going to demonstrate the oxygen fill. So we put a canister in here, take it out. Because I didn't leave it in very long, it's not going to be perfectly full, but we'll go check what's in it. It is 100% oxygen. Cold, but 100% oxygen. Now, let's say I don't want to waste the oxygen. I can slap the oxygen in the waste. Oops, I didn't mean to open my helmet. Put this into the waste emptier. And as you can see, all the oxygen is now being pulled from this canister. Okay, enough, narrator. Pulled from the canister and put, you know, because of the volume pump that I have downwind. And I can just wait for this oxygen tank to be vacuum. And that's exactly what I'll do. Now, it would be a little faster if we had both a back pressure regulator and the volume pump. The volume pump is great for large volume. And then, much like a sort of geometric curve, eventually lowers its efficiency. So if we take this canister out now, it will be good old vacuum, nothing in there. And then we can do the same thing with the nitrogen tank. So this will be 100% nitrogen. And we can plug that back in so that we recapture the nitrogen. And this can recapture anything. This can recapture really any gas, because this goes into the filtration systems. So we're not losing anything by doing this. Everything is preserved. Nothing leaks or anything like that. Because then the capture system goes back into this pink network, which feeds to all of the filters. Now, of course, it does use some of the filters' life, but that's a very small price to pay. And I just have to wait for that to empty out. So there we go. We have tank refills for oxygen, nitrogen, a tank emptier, and the suit storage that keeps the suits nice and charged. In fact, it has a full battery. I'm jealous because my own suit has a medium charged battery. So I'm gonna switch batteries here. Now I guess that brings me to my next point. I probably should have a battery charge station somewhere on this first floor too. I could put it like here or something, because the trunk does come here. So let me go do that right now. Actually, how much time do I have? Yeah, I have a little bit of time. So let me do a little bit of a battery storage. In fact, I'll just repurpose this battery charger. It's actually, in my opinion, somewhat bad form to have a battery charger on your like emergency supply chain of food, because you're kind of running the risk of, if I added enough nuclear batteries, it would empty out the kit battery here, and then my farm would run out of power. It would either lose heat or pressure or something, and then all the plants would die. So we'll just move the battery charger I had already made. For me to do that, I'm going to need to put a frame down, though. So let's get frames and sheets. This is something that wasn't on the to-do list, but doesn't take very long, so I might as well do it. So there's my frames and my sheets. Now, one way to avoid needing to ever refill your welder is just to get the electrical arc welder. You know, so if I needed, if my welder, because your welder does have a gas tank. Yeah. And it does have a preset amount of gas. So if you ever run out of gas, you can mix it. It's 1 part oxygen, 2 parts volatile. Which is what the welder tank has. In fact, I can prove it. Let's go ahead and take this tank out, which is called fuel. And as you can see, 1 part oxygen, 2 parts volatile, or H2 in this case, which is the same H2 that we have in our volatile tanks, right? So if you ever wanted to make your own welder gas, that's the ratio. The thing is, the canister for the welder welder gas is much like a propane tank or something in real life. It's not always safe to just have around all the time, because it can rupture or whatever, and the explosions are vague. There used to actually be a bug in the game where it would rupture, and rupture often, and rupture enormously, and it was a bit of a problem as people's bases were being taken out by welder tanks. Alright, so now that that is plugged in, we'll break down the frame. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm too old school, having played this for a long time, and I'm still fearful of welder tanks, because they used to just explode, like hair trigger explode at random, and would wipe out your bases, and it was very tragic and sad. So yeah, I understand why they made an electric welder. Alright, so now we have a battery recharge station. We just need to power that up all the way, which means grabbing our heavy cables. And this will power from the trunk as well. Inelegant maybe, but like, it will work, so I don't really care. So the trunk comes down, goes up. Okay, this battery's full. So in the case that we lose power everywhere else, there's really no power being drawn from this battery, providing this vents off, so that battery really never should empty out. I don't really see a scenario where it would ever be depleted. Alright, and now, if I could set it up right, which I'm fat fingering, there we go. Now, the battery charger in the base, draws from the power tower, as does the suit recharger. And we don't really need to keep this on, because, the suit's battery is high charge, so we'll keep it on for now. We could even keep this on, and then I have a small battery to throw in there. It's not the most convenient place for it in terms of walking to it, but it makes good use of the space. That alarm is because I have my floods still on, by the way. It's totally normal. Once the base is pressurized, the floods will get turned off. Alright, so at this point, I would say I did the oxygen, I did the suit storage and fire extinguisher. I did the oxygen fill, the CO2 empty, the propellant fill. I did the APC battery for emergency escapes. I haven't set up the intake vents to turn off on an emergency, so I have to still do that. We destroyed the silly wall of pipes. I have started to allow for the maintenance tunnels to be vacuum pumped, but I haven't actually put
Jetpack
air intakes in here. They would be really, really, really easy to add. I would just add like an active vent or two in here, maybe a few, just so that it works more efficiently. The reason being is, if we ever have to breach, let's say we have some huge emergency and we don't have time to go through the elevators or whatever, I can just take a crowbar to all these windows and breach my way out, stopping at the bottom window. This bottom window should not be breached because the maintenance, the crafting room will never be airtight. But stopping here, and then we can exit with the crowbar out this way. If you're without a crowbar, I guess you're screwed. I'm not gonna put a crowbar in every floor. Like, that isn't done in real life. It's not like on every floor of your house you have a fire axe, right? So you could do that. It's actually not that expensive to put a crowbar on every floor in like some tool bench or whatever, but it's just a little overkill for me because I'm always gonna have if I'm alive, I'm gonna have my tool belt, and I take care of my tools, and my tools are always in my tool belt for the most part. But yeah, so we're eventually gonna vacuum seal out the maintenance tunnel, as I've explained earlier in this episode, to isolate, so that if we do have to breach quickly, we can do it. And then the maintenance tunnel will then need air vents to be able to pump everything back into the intake systems. And then the intake overflow is down here at this giant overflow tank. And then the last thing is the maintenance airlock, which I guess I got done. So I am done with a lot of things on the checklist that I feel like I need before the ultimate pressurization of the base. If you can think of anything else, now is the time to speak up, because the time to act is now. Really soon, we will not have the ability to do it because I will be pressurizing. So if you have any tips, tricks, feedback for me, drop me a line. I do appreciate you tuning in and helping out and giving me all sorts of wonderful feedback, and I'll catch you all later, guys. Thanks for watching, and adios.